Silence, please. All stand and remain standing. The Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia Division 2 is now in session. Please be seated.
Associate, please open the court.
On the occasion of this ceremonial sitting at the Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia Division 2, to welcome His Honour Judge Renwick, AM CSC.
Well, good afternoon and welcome everyone. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands and waters where we meet today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander person here. I acknowledge the traditional owners' spiritual and physical connection with this land and their stewardship of this country. It's been ongoing for thousands of years. On behalf of the court, I wish to express my gratitude for the sharing of this country, but also I express my sorrow for the cost of that sharing. I wish to understand and respect the stories, beliefs and laws of First Nations people. It is our hope that we will move to a place of equity, justice and reconciliation together. I pay my respects to the elders as they do the work they do, as they continue to lay the bedrock for the next generation of Aboriginal leaders. We commit as a court to walk with the greatest respect upon Aboriginal lands. I'm delighted on this occasion of a ceremonial sitting to welcome Judge James Renwick, AM CSC, as a judge of the Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia Division 2. There are many people to acknowledge, and I'll do my best in the 3.5 hours we've got allotted to this sitting. The Honourable Justice Gleeson and Honourable Justice Beach Jones of the High Court of Australia. Judges of the Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia Division 2, both here on the bench and across the country. Judges of the Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia Division 1, again remotely and also present here today. Judges of the Federal Court of Australia, including Justices Perham, Perry, Abraham, Haley, Kennett and Sharif. Chief Justice Andrew Bell of the New South Wales Supreme Court. Chief Justice Michael Grant of the Northern Territory Supreme Court. Justice Ward, President of the New South Wales Court of Appeal. Justice Preston, Chief Judge of the Land and Environment Court. Justice Wright, Justice Lonergan, Justice Pepper. Acting Judge Levy, SC of the District Court of New South Wales. Deputy Chief Magistrate Antrim and Magistrate Giles of the Local Court of New South Wales. Retired judges including the Honourable Virginia Bell, ASC of the High Court. Retired judges of the Federal Court of Australia, the Supreme Court of New South Wales, the Federal Court and the Family Court of Australia Divisions 1 and 2. Mr Simon Daly, Chief Solicitor of Australian Government Solicitors on behalf of the Attorney General for the Commonwealth of Australia. Rear Admiral, the Honourable Jack Rush, AO, RFD, KCRAN, Judge Advocate General on behalf of the Australian Defence Force. Commander Sophia White, Fleet Legal Officer. Professor the Honourable George Brandis, AMKC, former Commonwealth Attorney General and High Commissioner. Mr Peter Dunning, KC, on behalf of the Australian Bar Association, on behalf of the New South Wales Bar Association. Ms Jennifer Ball, President of the Law Society of New South Wales and on behalf of the Law Council of Australia. Members of the bar and members of the profession, including Lord Babb, former New South Wales and Northern Territory DPP. I also wish to acknowledge that joining us remotely across Australia is former Chief Justice of Papua New Guinea, Chief Sir Alamo India, a former President of the King's Bench Division, Sir Brian Levison, and senior members of the English Bar, the Solicitor General of New South Wales, Mr Michael Sexton, SC, and the Solicitor General for Queensland, Mr Gim de Villiers, KC. Chief Justice Gageler, AC, and former Justices Kirby and Keane of the High Court of Australia extend their apologies as they're unable to join us here today. And most importantly, may I acknowledge Your Honour's family and friends, in particular your wife Sarah, your sons Angus and his wife Daisy and Lachlan. I now invite Mr. Simon Daly to address the court on behalf of the Attorney General for the Commonwealth of Australia.
May it please the court. May I also begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet today and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I also extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. It is a great privilege to be here today to congratulate Your Honour on your appointment as a judge of the Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia Division 2. The Attorney General, the Honourable Michelle Rowland MP, regrets that she cannot be here today to share this occasion with you. The Attorney General has, however, asked that I convey the Australian Government's congratulations on Your Honour's appointment. Your Honour's appointment to this court has been warmly welcomed by the Australian legal community and is another success in your diverse and accomplished career. The presence of so many of Your Honour's colleagues in the legal profession today is a testament to the high regard in which they hold Your Honour. May I also acknowledge the Honourable Justice Jacqueline Gleeson of the High Court of Australia, the Honourable Justice Robert Beach-Jones of the High Court of Australia, the Honourable Justice Nye Perham of the Federal Court of Australia, the Honourable Justice Melissa Perry of the Federal Court, the Honourable Justice Wendy Abram of the Federal Court, the Honourable Justice John Halley of the Federal Court, the Honourable Justice Geoffrey Kennett of the Federal Court, the Honourable Justice Yassine Sharif, Federal Court, the Honourable Justice Virginia Bell, AC, former Justice of the High Court of Australia, the current and former members of the judiciary, members of the legal profession, and fellow speakers. I also acknowledge current and former members of the judiciary who regret they're unable to attend today, including the Honourable Stephen Gageler, AC, Chief Justice of the High Court, the Honourable Michelle Gordon, AC of the High Court, the Honourable Justice Simon Stewart of the High Court, the Honourable Justice Andrew Bell, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, the Honourable Michael Kirby, AC CMG, former Justice of the High Court, the Honourable Patrick Keane, AC, former Justice of the High Court. I acknowledge the presence of Your Honour's family, friends and colleagues, including your wife Sarah, your son Angus and his wife Daisy, and your son Lachlan, who proudly share this occasion with you today. I also acknowledge all family, friends, colleagues and members of the legal profession watching online. Your Honour is the first lawyer in your family, which includes your late father, Dr. Stuart Renwick, AM, a pioneer surgeon specialising in breast cancer treatment, and your mother Anne, a former speech therapist, as well as your sister and late brother. Your Honour's parents worked hard to provide you and your siblings with opportunities and a supportive environment. Your Honour's original idea for a career pathway had been that of a poet, to which your father enthusiastically recommended that you should study law. Your Honour obliged your father and graduated from the University of Sydney with a Bachelor of Laws in 1985 and returned in 1993 to complete your PhD, becoming the university's first Doctor of Juridical Science graduate. Your Honour described your thesis supervisor, Professor James Crawford, as one of the very few geniuses of the law, and your relationship with him a turning point in your academic education. Your Honour commenced your legal career in 1986 as a solicitor in New South Wales. You then moved to the public service, first at the Northern Territory Department of Law in 1989 until 1990, where you contributed to the work on Aboriginal land rights claims. Then, as I well know, at the Australian Government Solicitor from 1991 to 1995. In 1996, Your Honour signed the bar roll and began practising as a barrister at 12 Wentworth Selborne Chambers, specialising in public and regulatory law and also in national security law. Around this time, Your Honour also joined the Navy Reserve, citing your late father-in-law and naval officer of 40 years, Commodore Harry Adams, AM, RAN, retired, as an inspiration. Your Honour took silk in 2011 and served as an honorary professor at the Australian National University from 2012 to 2021. Your Honour also served as a senior member of the New South Wales Civil and Administrative Tribunal from 2014 to 2020. Your Honour was appointed Australia's third independent national security legislation monitor from 2017 to 2020. I've been told by one of your esteemed colleagues that you regard your work there amongst your greatest achievements. The 9 reports Your Honour has produced contain extensive recommendations to improve Australian security legislation in areas including the Telecommunications and Other Legislation Amendment Act 2018, Stop Search and Seize Powers, Declared Areas, Control Orders and Preventative Detention Orders, considerations for the prosecution and sentencing of children for terrorism offences, and provisions for terrorism-related citizenship loss in the Australian Citizenship Act 2007. Your Honour has worked particularly hard to promote the profile of the Office of the Independent National Legislation Monitor among the public and abroad, and especially in the United Kingdom, where you established a strong relationship with the office's counterpart, the Independent Reviewer of Terrorism Legislation. Your Honour's colleagues have remarked that several UK reviewers and experts in the field, including Lord Anderson of Ipswich KBEKC, Lord Carlisle of Berriew, Sir Brian Levison, and Jonathan Hall KC, regard you as having a careful and proportionate approach to ensuring national security in a legally proper human rights context. One has described Your Honour as a perfect Australian gentleman, loyal to a T, gracious, kind, dignified, and unreservedly proud of his family's heritage. These relationships remain strong to this day, and I'm told Your Honour proudly displays photos of your eventful meetings in your office next to a large antique grandfather clock. Your Honour's efforts in the international arena are held in the highest regard. Between 2016 and 2020, Your Honour acted as Senior Counsel assisting the Inspector General of the Australian Defence Force Afghanistan inquiry, and in 2021 assisted the Papua New Guinea Commission. I've been told your wise counsel and ability to build trust have supported some of Australia's key international relationships, including those in the UK and the US and in Papua New Guinea. Your Honour's work there has been described as reflecting genuine affection and respect for our Pacific neighbour. For your military service, Your Honour received the Australian Active Service Medal in 2013. And in 2019, the Conspicuous Service Cross for outstanding devotion to duty as a legal officer in the Royal Australian Navy Reserve. In 2021, you were appointed Deputy Judge Advocate General Navy in the rank of Commodore. A crowning recognition for Your Honour's decades of significant service to the law and to national security came in 2024 with your induction as member of the Order of Australia. Your Honour's colleagues have described you as an Australian of many talents and an abiding patriot, a prime example of one's complete commitment to protecting our nation's institutions in order to secure our future. I've been told Your Honour's colleagues admire your love for teaching and cultivating new generations of legal and national security professionals. In particular, your efforts as Distinguished Advisor to the Australian National University's National Security College have been described as unstintingly generous in offering expertise, guidance and mentorship to students. I've been told Your Honour enjoys photography, the outdoors, and that you have a green thumb, as you and your wife Sarah are keen gardeners. While multiple sources tell me that your wife is a creative one and deserves most of the credit for your botanical efforts, you are nevertheless proud of your achievements. I understand your garden will soon feature in a community event, which will see your veggie patch shared, perhaps along with some deep-rooted secrets to growing a successful garden. A fitting metaphor, perhaps, for a lifetime of Your Honour's hard work bearing fruit. Your Honour's appointment to this court is a testament to your complete dedication to the law and your numerous accomplishments in the legal profession. Your Honour takes on this judicial office with the best wishes of the Australian legal profession. Both I and everyone in this room trust that you will approach this role with exceptional dedication to the law, as you have continuously shown throughout your career. On behalf of the Attorney General, the Australian Government and the Australian people, I extend to you my sincere congratulations and welcome you to the Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia. May it please the Court.
Thanks, Charlie. Rear rope or rush.
May it please the court, I too acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet. It is my honour to be here today on behalf of the Australian Defence Force and specifically the Office of Judge Advocate General. We wish to congratulate Commodore, His Honour, James Renwick, on his appointment as a judge of this court. I know online Major General Cowan, the Chief Judge Advocate, Group Captain Jeeves, the Deputy Chief Judge Advocate, Group Captain Rose, the Registrar of Military Justice, and other members of the office at OJAG. I also acknowledge here today Major General Westwood, the former Judge Advocate General, I beg your pardon, former Chief Judge Advocate. Putting aside family for the moment, the numbers and distinction of the members of the profession here to acknowledge Your Honour and this important day is testament to you personally and of the high regard in which you are held. I have gone to the same sources perhaps as Mr. Daly. Your Honour, at the conclusion of secondary school, apparently told your father that you had thought you would like to be a poet. A perhaps winsome, youthful reflection, instantly quashed by your father's retort, good, excellent, you will study law. It is that decision to study law that brings me to the bar table today. You joined the Royal Australian Navy as a reserve legal officer in the same year you signed the bar roll in 1996. Why the Navy? A real influence on that decision was your late father-in-law, Commodore Harry Evans, father of your wife, Sarah. Harry Evans joined the RAN at the age of 13, leaving the comfortable surrounds of the Melbourne Grammar Junior School for what was then known as the Flinders Naval Depot, now HMAS Cerberus. I can say to a predominantly New South Wales audience, in winter, a more desolate place than most of Victoria. He served for 41 years, and he was one of so many in your family proud to see you in Navy uniform. You joined the New South Wales legal panel and subsequently went on to lead that panel, and in doing so, joined an elite group of naval officers who have subsequently been appointed to the bench. It is today pertinent to identify those that have provided the example and encouragement to reserve naval lawyers as head of panel. The Honourable Sir Lawrence Street, Commander. The Honourable Harold Glass, Rear Admiral, Judge Advocate General. Judge John Sinclair, QC, Captain. The Honourable Terence Cole, Commodore. The Honourable Murray Tobias, Captain. The Honourable Michael Slattery, Rear Admiral, your immediate predecessor as head of panel and my predecessor as Judge Advocate General here today. And that is just the panel leaders. I've observed in court the Honourable Dennis Cowdroy, Captain, Her Honour Sylvia Emmett, Lieutenant Commander, and I'm looking straight at Commander Sandy Street. And my apologies to many that I'm sure I have missed. Sitting in court, I know, is Commander Her Honour Judge Trail. From the very outset of your service, you brought to bear not only your profound legal knowledge and skills, but also an adaptability and practicality in the manner in which it was provided in the service context. Your enthusiasm and dedication saw your advancement through the ranks, and you enjoyed engagement in the most important of roles. If I may divert just briefly, a minor but nevertheless frequent comment of those consulted for this speech concerns Your Honour's fastidiousness in the wearing of the uniform. Always immaculate, creases perfect, bearing very military. This example and demeanour has obviously had an impact in Your Honour's former chambers, 12 Wentworth. Wing Commander Sophie Callan, SC, has followed your lead and example, as has the aforementioned Captain Cowdroy. However, it has to be said, you are marked as a fail as far as the uniform of Commander Greg Surtees, QC, your head of chambers is concerned. Until you were appointed Deputy Judge Advocate General of Navy, you regularly provided advice on sensitive matters to senior command. You appeared both prosecuting and defending in military trials. You were involved in a number of major ADF inquiries as either counsel assisting or representing. I refer to some: the inquiry into the F-111 DSEAL and RESEAL program, investigating the significant consequences to health of aircraft maintainers working on fuel tanks exposed to solvents and jet fuel. The catastrophic fire in the engine room of HMAS West Australia and the subsequent loss of 4 Navy personnel. This just 3 years after you joined. In 2008, with your counsel, Commander Dominic Catter of the Queensland Bar, who I understand is here today, you appeared for the family of Captain Burnett in the inquiry into the loss of HMAS Sydney 2, sunk by the German raider Cormoran on the 19th of November 1941. The discovery of the wreck of Sydney 2 in March of 2008, the extraordinary photographic and video evidence of the wreck, led to the Commonwealth Defence Force Commission of Inquiry to report into the circumstances of that loss. Captain Burnett, the commanding officer of Sydney, was part of the entire ship's company, 645 men, that was lost at sea. The task of engaging with the Burnett family concerning the actions of Captain Burnett, noting his 2 sons were both commissioned officers in the Navy, required tact and balance, which you certainly brought to that inquiry. The Commissioner for that inquiry, responsible for the most thorough and definitive report into the loss of Sydney, the Honourable Terence Cole, is in court today. More recently, you were engaged with others, as has been said, to assist the Special Forces inquiry, the Brereton inquiry, established by the Inspector General of the ADF. I feel I am only touching the surface of your military career. You deployed to Afghanistan as part of Operation Slipper in 2013 as legal advisor to the detainee audit team. It was no easy task. Your accommodation was a bunk, one of 6, in a metal container at base Taran Quad. The work undertaken was important in establishing and maintaining appropriate principles and standards of detention. One of the matters I understand you particularly noted in your time of deployment in Afghanistan, wherever you went with that team, the members always wore body armour, even when not required. It took some time for Your Honour to work out why this was the case, but it was absolutely explained by some advice from a general before you deployed, which you apparently failed to take on board. Quote, James, you should always wear wraparound sunglasses in case of a bomb. But more importantly, and I'd say this to any lawyer, James, keep your weapon unloaded at all times. You were an observer at for the Australian government at the trial of David Hicks at Guantanamo Bay. You for 3 years served as National Security Legislation Monitor, the watchdog for national security laws, appointed to that position because of your recognised expertise in the area, balancing constitutional law, criminal law principles against the importance of national security agencies' right to know. You were for years a Section 154 reporting officer. And to explain, convictions in the discipline system are subject to a review by one of a panel of experienced lawyers. Your reports were always to the point, covered the relevant issues, and were delivered in a timely manner. You were promoted Commodore in 2001 upon your appointment as Deputy Judge Advocate General Navy. Your depth of knowledge, both in criminal law and administrative law, has been of enormous benefit in the reviews you conduct in this role and to ensuring the Defence Force Discipline Act, a 40-year-old piece of legislation, meets contemporary standards in the administration of discipline law. I refer to a photograph that landed on my phone on the 12th of June 2025. A photograph taken on the quarterdeck at HMAS Creswell, Jervis Bay. Your photograph with Sarah, son Angus, and importantly, the just graduated midshipman, Lachlan Renwick, father and son, both in uniform, I know was a very special day for you. So that continuing family tradition with the Royal Australian Navy. Family is so important to Your Honour. Your family members are here today. Both your service in the ADF and your work as a barrister has frequently required periods away from home. We acknowledge today the contribution and support of family members to those who serve, and specifically the unwavering support you have received from family, particularly Sarah, throughout your career. Your Honour will make a fine judge of this court, and on behalf of those I represent, we wish you well in this new phase of your professional career. Please, the court.
Thank you, Rear Admiral. Mr. Dunning and KC.
May it please the court. Judge Renwick, Chief Justice Alstegren, Deputy Chief Judges McClelland and McCurry, judges of the Federal Circuit and Family Court, and the many distinguished other persons present today. It is my privilege and pleasure in equal measure, Judge Renwick, on behalf of Australia's 7,500 barristers, to offer their congratulations on this outstanding appointment today. It is also my delight to appear particularly on behalf of the New South Wales Bar Association today. Your Honour has 4 decades of distinguished service to the practice of the law. Today is but a waypoint towards no doubt half a century or more of distinguished practice in that regard. My role today is to speak of the nearly 30 years Your Honour spent at the bar. Your Honour was 15 years a junior and 14 years a silk. Your Honour joins today with that background a large, important court that appears all across the country and inevitably touches the lives of more Australians than any other court. It is both a privilege and a responsibility writ large. In doing so, one acknowledges the special place courts play in coming to peace with the First Nations people in Australia and the part that this court plays in that regard. Your Honour had a stellar academic career and a distinguished career as a solicitor, which will be touched on shortly. That led to Your Honour conducting a wide and diverse practice as a barrister. Your Honour, in that regard, developed a practice across all areas of law, appeared in courts and tribunals from the High Court and beyond in Australia and outside. And really, it is a testament to Your Honour's practice that by the standards of appearance in that court, Your Honour's appearance in terms of numbers in the High Court were legion. And I note my friend, Mr. Sexton, who I have the Solicitor General for New South Wales, who I have the good fortune to sit next to you today, appeared with you in a number of those important cases. That background will serve Your Honour well in the discharge of your functions as a judge of this court. Your Honour was a leader of the bar in every sense of that word. Your Honour was head of 12th floor chambers. Your Honour was a member of the New South Wales Bar Council, the editor of Bar News, and involved in the mentor program for female barristers at the New South Wales Bar. That is by no means an encyclopedic account of Your Honour's contributions to the bar, but emblematic of them. Your Honour brings then all of those qualities to this court, and at the risk of picking out any individual part of Your Honour's practice and of Your Honour's storied career, can I speak just briefly of Your Honour's appointment as the National Security Legislation Monitor between 2017 and 2020? A task by definition that will only produce questions of the most vexed kind, and upon which the competing considerations are each powerful. It's a job that demands, and no less than demands, a powerful intellect, incredible discretion, a lot of character, a personal integrity that is unwavering, and ultimately courage to make those difficult choices and supply that difficult view that so many of the rest of us are freed from. Now, all of those qualities are the hallmarks and the staple of any good barrister, but Your Honour has them and demonstrated them in unusual quantities. You are an exemplar of the unique quality that the independent bar brings to our civil society in terms of your contribution in that role and in so many others. And indeed, your contribution is marked today by, for example, the presence in court of the Honourable George Brandis, KC, who you worked with closely in such roles. All of that, I'm happy to say, Chief Justice Olsken, puts you in good stead, because you have taken on a person uniquely equipped for the task of this court. It would be remiss of me, though, speaking on behalf of the National Bar, not to acknowledge that Your Honour is in every sense a product of the New South Wales Bar, and the New South Wales Bar should be justifiably proud that they have produced a barrister of such accomplishment who's going to become a judge of such accomplishment of this court. And I hope the New South Wales Bar find it as delightful to have a Queenslander speaking on their behalf as a Queenslander finds it to have the opportunity to speak on their behalf. The bar is an inevitably demanding role, rewarding in incredible ways, but inevitably demanding. Few, if any, barristers, in fact, succeed, and certainly not at the level Your Honour succeeded, without the support of a loving family. It is effectively a job not able to be done without that. To your wife Sarah, to your son Angus, and to his daughter, his wife Daisy, and his son Lachlan, we acknowledge the contributions they have made to where Your Honour is today, and the source of justifiable pride they should feel in Your Honour's appointment and their contribution to it. Your Honour, I acknowledge the public service you have given so freely and so spectacularly in the past, and that which is to come. In the twilight of my time as immediate past president, it was a particular delight to be asked to speak today. The president of the Australian Bar Association, Roisin Annesley, KC, particularly asks that she be joined in the remarks that I have just made. Your Honour's appointment today is met with the genuine affection of the bar nationally, and particularly your so many friends in the New South Wales Bar. I take the opportunity to wish Your Honour many happy years as a judge of this court. May I please?
Thanks very much, Mr. Dunning. Ms. Ball.
May it please the court. I would like to adopt my learned friend's acknowledgement of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation on which this court stands. I also acknowledge Your Honour Chief Justice Olstegren, AO, Mr Simon Daly of the Australian Government Solicitor, representing the Attorney General, Rear Admiral of the Honourable Jack Rush, AO RFD KC RAN, on behalf of the Australian Defence Force, Mr Peter Dunning, KC, representing the Australian Bar Association and the New South Wales Bar Association, all judicial officers, dignitaries, colleagues, and most of all, Your Honour, and Your Honour's family and friends. As you might imagine, during my time as President of the New South Wales Law Society, and indeed throughout my work life, I've been privileged to meet some of the most amazing, inspirational and high-achieving members of our legal profession. Even amongst all of these luminaries, Your Honour's remarkable career stands out. It might even be possible to say it stands alone. It's certainly not always the case that those wishing to provide their congratulations and input for ceremonies like this one come not only from across the country, but also from around the world. However, Your Honour's array of significant and varied roles has resulted in what I would suggest is a fairly unique impact and experience within the justice system, and has won you admirers across the globe. As one of your colleagues said to me, what makes Your Honour's appointment special is that you combine both academic brilliance and professional expertise. Service to the administration of justice, service to our profession, and service to Australia is always front of mind when welcoming a new judge. It is front of mind because the role of a judge is a role of service, and it requires a person committed to advancing the public good. It goes without saying that Your Honour embodies the spirit of giving back. Your devotion to service was no doubt engendered by your parents. Giving a graduation address at your alma mater, you warned that in the practice of law there would be hard days. But what sustains you in striving to keep doing your best work on hard days while staying on the narrow path of ethical conduct is the fact that you serve always in the administration of the system of justice. You have served the administration of justice with distinction. Even the highest level biography of Your Honour's achievements is impressive. Senior member of the New South Wales Civil and Administrative Tribunal, the 3rd Australian Independent National Security Legislation Monitor, your deployment overseas, your service to our Pacific neighbour, Papua New Guinea, and your support for the work of the New South Wales Bar, the National Security College, and the Law Council of Australia, particularly your membership of the Law Council's Military Justice Committee, just to name a few. And of course, as we have heard, you have also served as a Deputy Judge Advocate General, Navy in the Australian Defence Force. When I was discussing your vast resume within the office, there were a few staff that thought there might be a JAG joke to be made here. A light-hearted reference to the TV show, perhaps, or simply admiration for how people look in dress whites. But I respectfully decline to stoop so low when honouring such a fine career as yours. However, I couldn't resist a quick search for famous lines from the JAG series and found one where a character asked, "Did you ever think you'd see the day when a lawyer was a hero?" Well, I'd say if there is a person who hasn't seen a lawyer being a hero, then they haven't looked hard enough. I see lawyers undertaking life-changing feats worthy of great admiration every single day, and Your Honour is undoubtedly one of them. Which nicely brings us back to Your Honour's role as INSLM. The Law Council of Australia, whom I represent here today, strongly advocated for the creation of INSLM. It believes the work of the INSLM is pivotal to Australia's national security and its very democracy. The INSLM is charged with reviewing the operation, effectiveness, necessity and implications of our national security and counter-terrorism legislation, and ensuring it contains appropriate safeguards for protecting the rights of individuals. It cannot be an easy role, and nor is one that we should ever take for granted. You have continued as advisor at the National Security College to help develop those coming behind you and inspire the next generation of national security professionals. Your Honour's contribution has been deservedly recognised. You were inducted as a member of the Order of Australia in 2023 for your significant service to the law and to national security. You also have the post-nominals CSC, which are not ones I come across too often. As we have heard, Your Honour was awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross. The Australian Conspicuous Service Cross is awarded for outstanding devotion to duty or outstanding achievement in the application of exceptional skills, judgment, or dedication in non-warlike situations. I believe there are currently fewer than 1,500 Australians who have received a Conspicuous Service Cross. Your Honour is hugely admired for your depth of knowledge, independent thought, kindness, and loyalty. You have been lauded to me by my partners at Clayton Utz for your work as lead counsel for Scott Morrison at the Robodebt Royal Commission. You have also been lauded by one of your international colleagues as a wonderful adornment to the Australian judiciary. I think all here today would enthusiastically agree. In fact, those I spoke with regarding Your Honour were not surprised by your appointment, just surprised it hadn't happened sooner. Your Honour, there is no doubt in my mind that you will be no less than an exceptional addition to this court, and I'm thrilled that I can be here today to welcome your elevation on behalf of the profession and thank you for your ongoing contribution to the administration of justice in Australia. As the court pleases.
Thank you, Ms. Paul. Judge Rennick.
Chief Justice, Your Honours, ladies and gentlemen, it is said that the golden moments in the stream of life rush past us and we see nothing but sand. But I can assure you I will long remember this golden day, not least because of your presence both here and online, and the generous remarks and indeed the restraint of the speakers. Thank you all. Perhaps inevitably a day like this prompts me to recall my first day at the bar, reading on the 11th floor, led by Richard Conti QC in a case before Chief Judge Marla Pearlman. Just as my leader was to make the reply, my fellow floor reader, Andrew Bell, who I think may be online, now Chief Justice of New South Wales, arrived, whispered to my leader that he was needed right now in another court and in a much more important case. And perhaps it was. In the best traditions of the New South Wales Bar, my leader turned to me saying, "Gee, son, is that the time? I must be going. I'd keep it short if I were you." And then he left. I thought, gosh, day one, is this some sort of initiation rite? Her Honour, who'd heard all of this, watched me get to my feet, somewhat dazed, and I heard the wonderful words, "I don't suppose you want to say anything more, do you, Mr. Rennick?" Naturally, I agreed and sat down. And so on my first day at the bar, I learned, and I still remember, the judicial virtue of mercy. My journey here has not taken a typical course, if there ever is such a thing, and I have many people to thank in the next 10 minutes. So let me properly begin. First, I thank my family. My devoted parents made many sacrifices to educate me and my sister and brother, and they gave us that incomparable blessing, a happy home. Neither my father nor my brother remains alive, and I miss them both. If they had been here today, as the saying goes, they might not have believed everything that was said about me, but they would have enjoyed hearing it, as I have. I also miss my wife Sarah's parents, whose love and generosity enhanced our lives. But my dear mother and my dear sister are here, and I'm glad of it. Equally so, that kind man, my brother-in-law, former Justice Sekar. As for my dearly beloved wife Sarah and our fine sons Angus and Lachlan, today I will only say their ever-present love and support is fully reciprocated. Next, I must thank my new judicial colleagues from the very top down, and also the vital court staff, including Mr. Collingwood, my first associate Ms. Potter, the Chief Justice's staff, and particularly involved today, including Ms. Butler, Mr. Carlo, and Mr. Jones, all of you for the warm and helpful welcome to this happy and busy court, now by far the largest in Australia. To all of you, I say, in what I think is correctly described as a lonely and difficult job, I will continue to need your support and guidance. For those who helped me get here, you know who you are, and I can't mention everyone, but some must be publicly acknowledged. I have been deeply moved by the warmth of acknowledgement and encouragement by so many in the legal profession and the judiciary. As you've heard, I spent 10 formative years as a solicitor in private and government practice and writing my doctorate. And what Mr. Daly couldn't mention as he was reading out the attorney's speech is that he was my first supervisor. It is particularly nice to see you here, Mr. Daly. My 2 years working on Aboriginal land rights claims in the Northern Territory pre-Mabo was a memorable chance to walk on country, learning from the traditional Aboriginal owners and deeply studying Indigenous links to land in the top end and the Central Desert. So when the Chief Justice moments ago made the now customary welcome acknowledgement of country on behalf of the entire court, of which I am now a member, I thought also of those years in the remote outback, which was such an important part of my education as a lawyer and as an Australian. That work led me to writing my doctorate on the topic, the constitutional position of the Northern Territory of Australia, examining constitutional law and Aboriginal land rights. And in recent years, as some of you have alluded to, I've been able to work in and learn something of the ancient Indigenous cultures of our nearest neighbour, Papua New Guinea. And I think Chief Sir Salamo Inja, the former Chief Justice of Papua New Guinea, is online. I'm grateful for all of those learning experiences. Although, unlike my dear father, I was no great academic at school or as an undergraduate, and I really did say I was going to be a poet. I became captivated by the law when I undertook my doctorate, initially under that great lawyer, Professor James Crawford, later a judge of the International Court of Justice. If I can write at all decently, it is because he continuously corrected my work as a doctoral student from a style he initially called a cross between a brief to counsel and a Victorian novella. I now know that wasn't a compliment. My time as a Fulbright scholar in Washington, DC, I suspect on the strength of a recommendation by the late Professor Ivan Shearer, was also formative, and I've been glad to contribute to various universities, especially most recently the National Security College. My remaining years in the law have been spent as part of that wonderful institution, the Independent Bar, a bar which is now truly national. And at the bar, I had the great good fortune to start to read with the very best, two counsel who are now respectively the Chief Justice of our country, the Honourable Stephen Gageler, AC, who I believe is delivering an address in Melbourne as I speak, and His Honour Judge Len Levy, SC, who is here. I have never forgotten their example or generosity to me. I look around the room and see many members of my old floor, the 12th floor Wentworth-Selborne. The debt to that floor is profound. It goes from strength to strength, including, may I say, in welcoming many brilliant female barristers, 23 at latest count. I'm at least the 50th former floor member to have been appointed as a judge, and I surely won't be the last. Barristers can't function without effective clerks, and I see a number of my former clerks here. I thank all of them, Paul Daly, Bob Reimer, Trish Hoff, and most recently, Fiona Hayden. My terrific readers included Andrew Harding of Senior Counsel, Craig Lenihan of Senior Counsel, Crown Prosecutor Paul Kerr, and Justice Angus Stewart, one of my new work supervisors. And as this will be the only time I can correct His Honour with any propriety, I note that contrary to what he said in his welcome speech, in substance, I read with him rather than the other way around. Now, the sense of continuity in the bench and bar is important. In so many ways, we stand on the shoulders of those who went before us and thereby see further. One 12th floor link is with its greatest alumnus, former High Court Justice Michael Kirby, who is overseas today. You will understand I intend no absurd comparisons with that judicial legend when I still say I'm immensely proud we are both honorary benches at London's Inner Temple. Another link I'm proud of is with the Hughes family. Geoffrey Hughes was my master solicitor, and I did the last High Court case against Tom Hughes when in 2011. On the way into court number one in the High Court, in a case called R and LK, I joked to Tom, "You've been here before once or twice, haven't you?" Tom never joked going into court, but he always seemed to have prepared, just in case he needed it, the perfect riposte for any occasion, and he didn't disappoint with this astonishing sentence. "Yes, James," he said, "I appeared here as a silk before Sir Owen Dixon the year before you were born." That's quite a sentence. And he had. I am grateful for the support of so many in the profession, but may I single out in particular Mr. Solicitor for New South Wales, Michael Sexton, who's been the Solicitor General for New South Wales for a mere 27 years. He ensured I appeared often in the High Court, where I was privileged to see the greatest advocates at work. Let me say something about the Navy. Today, as some of you will have recognised, it's the 220th anniversary of the Battle of Trafalgar. In the last 3 decades, the opportunity to serve in the Royal Australian Navy has been a key part of my life. It took me to Guantanamo Bay and Afghanistan, to looking at military disasters of all sorts, some of which have been mentioned, including the sinking of HMAS Sydney, where with Commander Katter, I acted in the interests of the Burnett family, as the JAG mentioned, before Commissioner Cole. More recently, I spent 4 years in the difficult investigation into war crimes allegations against the Special Forces, working with Inspector General Gaynor, Major General Brereton, and Captain Vesper. This was vital work, if I may say so, of national self-examination of serious allegations. It encouraged the United Kingdom, I can assure you, to establish its own inquiry, now headed by my friend Sir Charles Haddon-Cave. My defence work has allowed me to advise, gave me the privilege to advise 6 chiefs of the Defence Force, and it gave me an opportunity to work with some of the finest people I will ever know. So may I especially acknowledge with affection and gratitude Reserve Judge Advocates Commander Greg Surtees SC, Wing Commander Sophie Callan SC, my fellow DJAGs, Air Commodore Her Honour Justice Perry, and Brigadier His Honour Justice Smith, the JAG office personnel, and of course, the Judge Advocates General I worked for, especially the late Major General Justice Richard Tracy, Rear Admiral Justice Michael Slattery, and of course, Rear Admiral Rush, who with respect has demonstrated today, including by his restraint, why he is among the greatest advocates in the country. I will retire next year from the DJAG and Navy role and hang up my uniform, deeply grateful for having been given the opportunity to serve. I was also very fortunate to be a senior member at NCAT, and I acknowledge the presence of its inaugural president, Justice Robertson Wright, and my immediate boss, former Judge of Appeal, the Honourable Jennifer Boland. Each by their example and encouragement gave me confidence I could take on the role I now hold. I have enjoyed, and I probably enjoyed it too much, I've enjoyed volunteering in various roles over the past 30 years. The Duke of Edinburgh International Award, the Australian branch of the International Law Association, the Law Council, the New South Wales Bar Council and Association, the Australian Institute of Administrative Law, and various social clubs. And I acknowledge the presence here also of former Justice Alan Robertson and Emerita Professor Christina Slade, who lead 2 learned societies where I have been honoured with fellowship. Penultimately, let me mention the topic of national security law, a focus of mine these last few decades, when I observed the forging, the making of many national security laws. Indeed, I sat so close to the forge that, to use the memorable words of Sir Victor Windeyer, I saw the sparks fly from the anvil. For many years, I taught and practiced in what was then called an emerging area, but it has now emerged. And I say that because 150 laws covering nearly 6,000 pages of statute books have been enacted just this century. They've often been considered in the High Court. The area, which extends well beyond counter-terrorism and intelligence law, is clearly established as a new, inevitably complex, but often contestable in a policy sense, area of the law. If you doubt that, see the special edition of the Australian Law Journal, commissioned by Justice Kuntz, which I had the honour of editing. In 2017, I was fortunate to be appointed on the nomination of Attorney General, now Professor George Brandis, who's here, to succeed the late Roger Giles, himself the successor to Brett Walker, who's interstate today, as the third Insulam. As I then told both of those true legends in the law, it was a high point in my career to be mentioned in the same sentence as them, and that remains the case. I gratefully acknowledge the 9 reports I delivered while notionally undertaking the role part-time could not have been written without my principal advisor, Mark Mooney, and my solicitors and counsel assisting. My counsel were all juniors at the time, and they now include 2 senior judges, one of them one of my new work supervisors, 1 Solicitor General who's online, and 2 silks. Mention has been made of my great counterparts, and I acknowledge them as well. The marvellous quartet of King's Counsel, Lord Anderson, Lord Carlisle, Sir Max Hill and Jonathan Hall, and also that giant of a jurist, Sir Brian Levison. The Insulam role gave me a rare entree into the usually hidden world of intelligence and security, and so I thank the agency heads, their inevitably unseen and unsung officers, and also the best oversight committee I could have wished for, namely the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Intelligence and Security. I will continue to observe, albeit now in an academic sense, developments in this field. And so let me conclude. My study and practice of law over many years has taught me at least this: to live in a country where, as Chief Justice Murray Gleeson put it, law restrains and civilises the exercise of power, and where the orders of a respected independent judiciary are almost always automatically obeyed, is a precious inheritance, rarely seen anywhere at any time in history. I am deeply conscious there is much for me, as the newest federal judge in the country, to live up to. I'm aware my work will be changing, hard and constant in volume, but as Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes said a century or so ago, of the vocation of the law, certainty is generally an illusion, and repose is not our destiny. I am both pleased and deeply honoured to be here. I had thought the opportunity to take the judicial oath had passed me by, and it has been pointed out by my former floor colleagues with surprising frequency that I am not the youngest federal appointment ever made, and that's true. But this I now say to you all: like Ulysses in Tennyson's poem, I remain strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield, and I will always do my best. Thank you for this day, Chief Justice. I will never forget it. My deep thanks to you all.
The court also acknowledges the distinguished presence of Justices Logan and Stewart of the Federal Court of Australia. Judge Renwick, may I congratulate you formally for your appointment onto this court. I welcome the addition of such an experienced, diligent and well-respected appointee to the bench. As we've heard today, Your Honour has had an impressive legal career, and this ceremonial sitting has provided us with an opportunity to celebrate and acknowledge your journey to this point. Your Honour's appointment reflects the important work this court does across both the general federal law and migration jurisdictions, and the recognition of this court as a place in the federal judiciary. This court continues to play an important role in providing access to justice across Australia. I know Your Honour will serve and rely upon our courts very well. Your Honour comes to this court with a significant breadth of legal knowledge and skill and capabilities as solicitor, barrister, senior counsel, deputy judge, advocate general, Navy, and your role as independent monitor. Also, I would like to acknowledge your 30 years of service in the Royal Australian Navy. This shows a deep commitment to the Australian people, a commitment you will also continue to do in your role as a judge of this court. Your Honour's expertise and experience make you eminently qualified to deal with the cases that come before this court. I know your judicial colleagues share my sentiments that Your Honour brings a strong work ethic, a deep dedication to the bench. This court celebrates its 25-year history and has developed a proud culture and reputation as the workhorse of the federal judiciary. And I have no doubt Your Honour will contribute greatly to that and to the William Street Registry. You join a highly collaborative and collegiate bench at an exciting time. Your Honour's appointment to this court is a significant occasion both for you and for your family, and as you transition to the next stage of your career. I acknowledge your Honour's family, whose unwavering support and sacrifice has been so significant to their journey. They now form part of our court family, and we heavily rely upon them to support our newest judge. Judge Renwick, on behalf of all the judges, registrars and staff of the court, congratulations on your appointment as a judge of the Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia Division 2. I wish you all the very best for a successful, fulfilling and rewarding judicial career. Adjourn the court.
Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia Division 2 is now called.
Well done.